How did you like get affiliated or hooked up with A24? And are you facing any criticism for being a male writing about a 13-year-old girl?
Only from you. No. No. So A24 is the company that produced it. They did, a bunch of wonderful movies, Moonlight and Lady Bird and Ex Machina and Good Timing. So I had met them a few years ago when they were just a distributor to maybe distribute this movie, and then I couldn't really get the money, and then eventually they got. Started to produce movies, and then they were able to produce this. But I'd met with them for a little while, and they're really, really wonderful. And I was anticipating a lot of it. I was worried, and I was very, very conscious the whole time of being a dude in charge of a young woman's story, And I was very worried that it was going to be like, I can't believe a man wrote this, But the reaction has actually been, I can't believe a man wrote this, which is like chill, But yeah, I hope I hope it's because I was very aware of it, and I don't think I overstepped my bounds. But at the same time, I have to believe that I can understand someone like that. For the reason that I did stand-up for a long time, the kids that would come up to me after shows and really understand what I was saying in my shows were 14 and 15-year-old girls, more than 27-year-old men. So if there was a bridge between us that I had to walk to write this movie, it was built by them to me first. I felt understood by 8th grade girls before I presumed to understand 8th grade girls. So, yeah.
That's amazing. Sorry. I just got
you were
caught up. I forgot that I'm moderating this. Sorry, I forgot that I'm doing this.
So after writing this movie, have you decided that you want to definitely make more, or do you want to move toward more like comedy-specific movies? And then also, if you continue to make movies, are you going to do lots of cameos, like a Stan Lee style? Because honestly,
that's hilarious. Yeah, maybe when I get to be his age, not until then. But the movie is funny too. I might make it sound like super serious. I think it's funny, but
I haven't seen it. So.
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it. But yeah, it's more project by project, really. It's not like, oh man, I want to, if I hope I can think of another great movie and do it, but I wouldn't want to just direct. But yeah, I really dug it. It was very, very fun and made me way less anxious than stand-up did. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
So how long?
Yes. Grace.
Okay. So how long did it take from start to finish, writing to producing to shooting to editing to final process?
Yeah. So I wrote it in like 2014 for like 2 weeks. Like the first draft was really quick in 2 weeks.
You wrote it in 2 weeks?
Yeah, and then it took a couple years to get it made because no one wanted to make it. As things happen. And then I put out my last special on Netflix, which is called Make Happy, and it got enough of a sort of little bit of a buzz where it felt like, okay, I have enough momentum right now to get this little movie greenlit.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. Yeah.
What's your I'm going to go on Twitter and get some questions from you guys, so please use the hashtag. What's your writing process? I know everyone has a different one, but what's yours? Like, what's your go-to when you're blocked, when you're like, I need to shut off, or when you're like, I need to work on a new project? Like, how does that work for you?
I do watch videos online of just people. Like, I love vlogs that have 10 views. I really do. Like, that's my favorite.
Because they're pure.
Yeah, they're just raw and real and beautiful, and sometimes scary, and sometimes weird, and sometimes exciting, and sometimes infuriating. So that's a lot of times been. And just the internet is such a wonderful place to just get like real, unfiltered people expressing themselves
that you couldn't get unless you just drove through and look in people's attics.
Truly, no, but that's what I feel like. Like when people say, how'd you get to know these kids? It's like they're online. I can just look at them online. I didn't have to like hide in the bushes outside of a school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't illegal.
No, I just have to you have to clear your Google history when you're researching 8th grade pool party though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yikes.com/edu. Okay. Someone was asking, is 8th grade reflective of how high school was for you? I mean, I'm not saying the female version, but I'm saying like the anxieties,
middle school.
Yeah,
was
is
for me.
8th grade
reflective of middle school?
Yeah,
Okay, that was the joke,
you were
right?
pretty much in high school when you were in 8th grade. You were
Yeah, well, that
smarter than your
is
years.
part of it. Is that like I do feel that I did feel that there's a lot of high school movies, and I feel like by the time kids get to high school, they're over it. Like all the
Right.
sort of questions are asked of kids much younger.
Well, no, that's why it's interesting that
Yeah.
it's set in 8th grade, because high school is like the movie genre of like people feeling discontent and like how to keep up and I have to be part of a clique and all this.
Yeah.
But 8th grade I thought was such an interesting like year to put this person in.
Yeah, it's just like your body's exploding. You're a child. You're an adult. It's insane. But it was a little but it was actually truly, even though I was kind of a hammy loser at 8th grade, and I didn't start really getting nervous and in my own head till probably like sophomore year because I was a little behind. I hit puberty very late. Yeah, puberty very late. We don't want to get into that.
Someone's asking, Dux Howell, how were you able to incorporate your comedy style into the movie? Like, I'm curious about the collaboration of your jokes versus them being just teenagers and letting them like talk. Like, how much improvisation versus what you wrote down was there?
It wasn't a lot of improv, but the writing was aggressively not clever. I mean, I
Okay.
didn't want to be clever. I was tired of talking about the current moment by being ironic or satirical. I just
Yeah.
wanted to be like real. Because my problem is like satirizing the internet doesn't work for me, or didn't
It's
work.
not authentic.
And it's just like the internet's already satirizing itself. What are you gonna do? Like make
Sure.
fun of memes? Like what are you talking about? Like
Scumbag Steve just walked out of the room. So
but it's everything on the internet is self-referential,
Right.
is meta, is commenting on itself. So for me, the way to really talk about it was to just portray it in a very granular, base, emotional way. I love Black Mirror, but I
Yeah.
don't think that's the only way we have to talk about the internet in terms of like dystopian satire. It's like there's a subtler conversation to have about the internet than like Russia and cyberbullying. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about like the subtle way that the internet interfaces with our hearts.
No,
the way it
that's-
makes us feel kind of nervous in our bed at the end of the day. How you have to choose between all the information in the world and the back of your eyelids. That's kind of sad.
okay, well. Glad we're having this conversation at VidCon, the convention
but
that celebrates the internet.
No, but that's the point. No, but I'm not critical of it. No.
But that's also why I wanted to ask you, like, why? I mean, I think that was my big takeaway was that I'm 32 years old. I grew up at a point in my life where I didn't have the internet and then had the internet and became like obsessed, but still remember a time when I didn't have it. And so many of you out there, I'm sure, have grown up with only knowing the internet as a source of connection, as a source of stress, as a source of all these different, as a source of just like self-comparison, as a source of like inspiration, all of that. And so it's fascinating how subtle you play, or the main female plays the stress levels and like somewhat toxicity, but like hope and optimism of what the internet provides. Because I mean, I'm sure you had a point in your life like when you didn't have the internet. Where you're 20, what? 7. Okay, God bless. And so there's a point in your life where you didn't have the internet, where you had to like call someone on your landline, you had to do stuff like that, and you remember that. And so for people that are growing up now, like, what is your point of view on the toxicity, I guess, of the internet? Is what I'm getting
Yeah,
to.
I mean, and again, I don't feel like I'm sitting here like I'm part of this.
No, I know, yeah.
I'm a victim to the internet as anybody. I'm addicted to it. I love it. I get inspired by it.
Mm-hmm.
I see that the internet's given visibility to people that never would have had visibility and set the country on fire.
Yeah.
We're hyper-connected and we're lonely.
Yeah.
We're overstimulated and we're numb.
Yeah.
Both these things exist. And I don't think that like young people on the internet are... You can have this conversation. We can feel this thing. We don't
Yeah.
have to just get up and be like creators. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we can feel that and celebrate that because it's good to create.
it's great to create, but it's also great to feel like
But
the
also
destruction
examine,
of creation.
yeah.
You know, to feel like the emotional recompense of that.
Yeah, exactly. That it's both, and
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. It's like in my stand-up, I had to be critical because it's funnier. It's not funny to go up and be like, I feel 2 things at once. Bye.
Well, no,
you know.
that's a
But
TED
really-
Talk. Save that for your TED Talk.
Really though, but
Yeah.
the truth of what I feel is I have absolute love for YouTube. I would never be where I was without YouTube.
Yeah.
The script wouldn't be what it was without YouTube. I love this place. I love people's want to express themselves. And then there's the other side of the coin where older people talk about this generation like they're self-obsessed and they're narcissistic.
Yeah.
I do think they're self-obsessed, but I don't think it's self-obsession is a choice. It's self-obsession as a cultural norm. It's a bummer to think about yourself all the time, right? It's a bummer to think about yourself
It's a bummer to
all
see
the time,
numbers
every moment.
measured against numbers.
Yeah.
I remember a time where I didn't know that my friends had more numbers than me, you know? And then I have cousins now that will delete an Instagram photo if it doesn't get enough likes in like 5 minutes. And that to me is like, oh, that's the dark side of the social media thing.
Yes, to quantify how likable you are, how attractive you are, how accepted you are, how seen you are. And kids used to be able to escape this. You can't escape your social life. It's following you everywhere all of the time.
Yeah.
But again, it's connecting people. It's making people that would have been totally isolated connected to the world, and that's a great thing. We just have to take inventory of it. For me, there's just no place to have a conversation about this. And maybe the internet has a vested interest in not having a conversation that might be a little self-critical of itself, of course, but it's the only place to have a conversation with young people. So yeah, it's just more, again, especially this movie is not about like, it's not a TED Talk, it's not telling you what to think, it's going like, this is sort of how I think it feels. This is how the internet registers to me in my tummy.
But that's what, no, for sure. And that's why it resonated, because it felt so real. It felt like I'm not an 8th grader, but I felt the stress that an 8th grader feels to deal with social media the way it is and deal with real life and balance the two at the same time and also want to express yourself and figure out who you are.
Yeah, and sometimes the internet makes 8th graders of us all. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm saying, I know, sometimes we'll look at our friends and be like, why are they acting 13 right now? You know what I mean? But so with a 13-year-old, you can actually do it really genuinely, which is, I think, beautiful. But yeah, it's like,
So how's your dog?
my dog's good.
Okay, cool.
To get something a little less heavy. But yeah, it's a crazy moment we're in. It's a very exciting moment.
Yeah.
And as young people start making things more, I think we're going to see the internet be portrayed more subtly, more emotionally, as opposed to the sort of internet as portrayed by adults feels to me like the movie's about like, then she threw her phone into the ocean and she was happy. You know what I mean? It's like, no, but really, no. Like it's not that simple.